folks, Benthelooney here. I've been telling you guys little stories about what's happened in my life. Well, now I feel it's time for me to talk about my life from start to finish, and reveal things about it that I haven't really been open about. I also don't want to talk about the start of my YouTube career as it isn't very exciting, and I'd rather talk about all that happened outside of it. I was born on October 14th, 1992 in Springfield, Illinois. As far back as I can remember, we lived in a little suburb for the first 3 years of my life. But we soon moved to a more rural area where I've lived for most of my life. So, I'm a country boy at heart. I'm also an only child, so I got really attached to my parents growing up. This also meant that I developed shyness as I was used to being by myself. My family wasn't the richest, but we made enough to survive, and we were happy with all we had. The good thing is, my family could afford satellite TV, and I grew up watching Cartoon Network when the channel was growing. I watched a lot of classic cartoons, loving them, laughing at them, and being fascinated by all the variety that I was exposed to. Disney Channel and Nickelodeon were also in their golden ages, so I got exposed to their cartoons as well. However, Cartoon Network was the channel I spent most of my time with, and if it wasn't for the channel, I wouldn't be where I am today. I had a moment of discovery when I was young, and I saw Who Framed Roger Rabbit for the first time. I was so fascinated by cartoons interacting with humans in that movie that inspired me to start drawing, and I began to make my own characters as well. It was when I realized that it was my dream to become an animator, and I was dead set to make that come true. The first school I went to was Emmanuel Lutheran School here in Springfield. It was religious based, so we spent less time learning what we were supposed to learn and more time talking about ridiculousness. After first grade at the school, my parents were informed that I didn't meet the requirements to graduate to second grade. Furious, my mom decided to put me into a new school, Raritan Elementary, which is only 5 minutes from my house. This was definitely a better school to be in as I was learning more, and I made some good friends along the way as well. I figured that it was all uphill from here. However, middle school came around and this was when things started to take a downward spiral for me. See, I was still watching cartoons well into middle school when my friends started to mature from them. What was once friendship turned into ridicule. The few friends I made no longer wanted anything to do with me, and this tore me up emotionally. I started to become depressed. So depressed that I didn't even care for cartoons anymore. The main thing that I wanted to spend the rest of my life doing became something I despised because it brought me so much misery. Whether it was reality shows or wrestling, I figured this would be a way for me to make friends again. Did it? No. It only made the problem worse. Don't know what it was, but I just had a hard time getting along with anybody during middle school. I would mostly stay silent, and nobody would ever talk to me. The bullying and cold shoulders from my peers got to the point where I couldn't stand it anymore. I wanted to commit suicide, but my mom called me when I got home that day and told me she loved me. She told me not to do anything and she was on her way there. Somehow my school counselor found out I was feeling suicidal and called my mom to get off work early and stop me from doing anything stupid. After I was feeling, and them telling me how much they loved me, I couldn't bear how I would make them feel if I ever took my life. So from that point on, I decided screw it and said I was gonna be myself. If I didn't make any friends in school, so be it. I would just look for companions elsewhere. In 2007, I joined an online forum. There, I met a guy named Dill. We hit it off instantly. Me and him shared so much in common and it grew to the point where I felt I could tell him anything and he wouldn't judge. We rarely argued, but when we did, we forgave each other shortly after. 9 years later, we're still chatting with each other, and I'm proud to call him my best friend. In my 8th grade writing class, something happened that sparked my artistic drive. My teacher read stories that we were assigned to write, and to my amazement, she used mine as examples. She would point out to the class how hardworking I was, and she said I was such a great storyteller. I was embarrassed, but I look back on that moment as a confidence boost for doing what I love doing. Fast forward to high school. My sophomore year, Beauty and the Beast was going to be the musical for that year. I never was interested in the idea of musicals at this point, but I'm such a huge Disney fan that I had to do it. I auditioned and got a bit part, and I'm so glad I did. I met so many wonderful people. People who were kind, respectful, and were happy having me around. I finally found my group of people. From that point on, I was in every play my school had until I graduated. And being in those allowed me to be more social and optimistic in class and outside of school too. I remembered who I was and what I wanted to be, and when I had free time from schools and plays, I would be sitting at home developing ideas for my cartoons. After I graduated high school, I wasn't ready to move away to go to college just yet. So I got accepted to Lincoln Lane Community College here in Springfield. It was here that I had several art professors who taught me how to draw well. I also made some friends who were more of my kind of people, because they were artists like me and shared a lot of my interests. They even liked my YouTube videos, so that was a plus. The 2 years of community college were some of the best of my life. My biggest regret was I didn't spend as much time drawing outside of college as I should have, but I can't do much about that now. In 2014, now came the time for me to move up to Schaumburg, a suburb of Chicago, to go to art college. It was going to be a whole new experience for me, as it was my first time having roommates, my first time being far away from home, and my first time having to take care of myself. I felt it was going to be a lot to handle, but I looked forward to it, as I felt it was going to be the best experience of my life. Well, you know the experiences I've had with my roommates in my school, as those are videos on their own. Now it's time for me to talk about how those things weighed on me emotionally. The school was the kind of place that felt like it sucked the creativity out of me. While I made some great friends there, the whole environment felt dull and depressing. My home life wasn't any better. I also had no privacy and no quiet time just to think and enjoy myself. All these added factors brought me back to my depression. Barely anything made me happy and gave me the drive to keep going. Sad to say, but if I had a gun at my disposal, I would have shot myself. Chatting with Dell was a positive, as he always knew the right thing to say to cheer me up. But there were some things I wouldn't tell him because I never liked talking about my emotions, and I didn't want him worrying about me. Thankfully, something happened. In October of 2014, a friend of mine from the school's animation club invited me over to her house for a Halloween party. I immediately jumped on the idea of getting out of my apartment and being in a more positive environment. After everybody else left the party, she said I could spend the night. It wasn't long before we started hanging out with each other more, going to movies, going on shopping trips, or just coming over to her house to hang out. Any opportunity I got to spend time with her, I took it, because just being with her gave me enough drive to keep going. Sadly, we didn't get a chance to spend too much time together, as I was soon graduating, and now here I am today. I wanted to tell this story because I know what it's like to be depressed, and it's a horrible feeling. I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy. So I want to make cartoons, not for me, but for everybody. I've always loved making people laugh and entertaining them with my stories, so that's what I'm gonna do. This is why I'm so grateful to all of you for staying subscribed to me for this long, and to those who are just joining me on this channel. The cartoons that I developed since childhood are going to be brought to life here on YouTube. They're not going to be ruined by studio interference. They're going to be exactly how I envisioned them. I hope to keep you entertained as long as I can and give you something to be happy about if you're feeling down. You're all very special, and I love you all so much. Here's to all the good times we've had and the good times to come. Hey guys, back with another shout out. Check out Ahltrinai Films. She makes lovely animations that are absolutely lovely. She doesn't have a lot to show now, but the more support you give her, the more content she can make. She also has a DeviantArt where you can look at all of her lovely artwork. Check her out. Links will be in the description.